Hello everyone. Today we embark on a fascinating journey into the concept of power sharing in a democracy. As we dive into this exploration, get ready to uncover the secrets behind maintaining harmony, preventing conflicts, and fostering inclusivity within diverse societies. In today's session, we are not merely observing facts, we are immersing ourselves in the very essence of democracy. By the conclusion of this session, you will have the ability to 1. Analyze the significance of power sharing in preventing conflict and promoting inclusivity. 2. Compare and contrast power sharing models in different countries such as Belgium and Sri Lanka. 3. Evaluate the impact of majoritarian policies on minority communities within democracies. Guys, this chapter builds upon our prior discussion in civics and history classes, where we have explored the significance of distributing power among the legislature, executive and judiciary. So, now we are going to understand that power sharing serves as the cornerstone of a well-designed democracy, ensuring a balance of power and preventing any single entity from holding absolute authority. To exemplify the importance of power sharing, let's initiate our exploration with two captivating stories from different corners of the globe. Our first story takes us to the heart of Europe, to the nation of Belgium. Belgium, a small European country, encompasses an area smaller than the Indian state of Haryana. Its population, slightly over 1 crore, is about half the population of Haryana. Now, this is where it gets more interesting. The ethnic composition of this nation is incredibly complex. The Flemish region of Belgium, where 59% of the population reside, predominantly speak Dutch. Meanwhile, the Wallonia region, housing 40% of the population, primarily speaks French. And here is a surprising fact: only 1% of Belgians speak German. But wait, there is more to uncover. The minority French-speaking community was relatively rich and powerful. This was resented by the Dutch-speaking community, who got the benefit of economic development and education much later. This led to tension between the Dutch-speaking and French-speaking communities during the 1950s and 1960s. The tension between the two communities was more acute in Brussels, the capital city. In Brussels, 80% of the people speak French, while 20% speak Dutch. Now, this poses a unique challenge. The Dutch-speaking population form the majority in the country, but a minority in the capital. Absolutely fascinating, isn't it? Now, let's journey on to our second captivating tale that will shed light on power sharing from a different perspective. Imagine turning the pages of Sri Lanka's history as we unravel the lesson it holds about the delicate art of power sharing. Are you ready for our second story? Buckle up, because we are heading to the beautiful island of Sri Lanka. Situated just off the southern coast of Tamil Nadu, Sri Lanka is an island nation with a population of approximately 2 crores, similar to that of Haryana. Now, visualize this scenario. Like many nations in South Asia, Sri Lanka boasts a diverse population. The Sinhala-speaking majority constitutes 74% of the population, while the Tamil-speaking minority account for 18% only. Within the Tamil-speaking community, there are Sri Lankan Tamils and Indian Tamils, descendant of plantation workers who migrated from India during colonial times. And guess what? Religious affiliations vary, with most Sinhala speakers practicing Buddhism, while the Tamil encompass Hindu, Muslim and Christians. Now, let's take a closer look at something really interesting. Imagine what could happen when a society has loads of different people with their own ways of doing things. In Belgium, the people who speak Dutch might use their larger numbers to make decisions that the French and German speaking people don't agree with. This could cause problems between these groups. It might even result in a situation where they can't agree and have to divide things up, like when you share a piece of cake. They might end up arguing over who gets to control Brussels, the main city. In Sri Lanka, after gaining independence in 1948, the leaders from the Sinhala community faced a big challenge: how to bring everyone together in a united country. They tried to make their group more powerful because there were more people from their community. They did this by putting in place a series of rules known as majoritarian measures. These measures were designed to give more advantage to the Sinhala people. For example, in 1956, the government made a law that said only the Sinhala language could be the official language, ignoring the Tamil language. Can you imagine how this might have affected the people who speak Tamil? It is like if any one type of game was allowed during recess, even though there are many fun games to play. But the story doesn't end there. After that, the government made policies that gave special benefit to people from the Sinhala community when it came to getting into universities or getting government jobs. Furthermore, a new constitution emphasized that state responsibility to protect and promote Buddhism, which made the Tamil community feel left out even more. These things made the Tamil people feel like they were not being treated fairly and they were being pushed to the side. They believed that the big political parties led by the Sinhala leaders didn't care about their language, culture or what they wanted. They felt that they were being treated differently when it came to things like jobs and education, and their hopes and dreams were being ignored. So, in response, the Tamil people formed their own political groups and started to fight for their rights. They wanted their language to be recognized as an official language. They wanted to have more control over their region, and they wanted the same chances for education and jobs. But even though they asked for these things many times, they were told no again and again. By the 1980s, some Tamil groups even started asking for their own separate country in the north and east parts of Sri Lanka. Sadly, all this mistrust and anger between the Sinhala and Tamil communities led to a really terrible civil war. Many people lost their lives, families had to leave their homes and become refugees, and the country faced many problems in terms of society, culture and its economy. It is like when friends have a big fight that makes everything go wrong, but on a much bigger scale. But hold on, our exploration isn't over just yet. Let's shift our attention to Belgium and uncover a tale of togetherness. While Sri Lanka was dealing with division and disagreement, Belgium chose a different path. The leaders of Belgium understood that people in different areas had their own unique ways of life and cultures. They came up with a creative plan that helped the country stay united. Now, here is where things get really interesting. The way Belgium works is unlike any other country. It is like they have a special recipe for keeping everyone happy. There are a few important ingredients in this recipe. First, their main rules, called the Constitution, make sure there are the same number of leaders who speak Dutch and French in the big government. This way, important decisions are made together and everyone's voice is heard. Second, they gave a lot of power to the government of different regions, like giving them their own superpowers. This means these regions can make some choices on their own without asking the big government for permission. And guess what? The capital city of Belgium, Brussels, has its own special government with the leaders from both the Dutch and French speaking groups. And here is really cool thing. There are even smaller governments in charge of things like culture, education and language. These little governments are chosen by the people who speak the same language. The way Belgium does things might sound a bit complicated even for people who live there, but these plans have worked really well. They have helped stop arguments and fights between groups who speak different languages. It is kind of like having a super team where everyone plays their part and works together. Here is an extra interesting tidbit. When European countries decided to join together and form a big group called the European Union, they chose Brussels as the place to set up their headquarters. Now, isn't that interesting? So, these stories about Belgium and Sri Lanka, which are both countries that follow democracy, show us two different ways of sharing power. Belgium's leaders understood that if everyone respects each other's feelings and ideas, they can find ways to work together that everyone agrees on. On the other hand, Sri Lanka's story warns us about what might happen when one group wants to be in charge and doesn't want to share power. This can make a country weaker instead of stronger. So my dear students, what can we learn from these stories? Sharing power is super important to keep a peaceful and fair society. It makes sure that different groups and parts of a country can talk to each other and avoid problems. But let us make this lesson even more exciting. I would like each of you to think about these stories and share your thoughts. How do these examples connect with the ideas of sharing power? Let's have an enthusiastic discussion and explore why sharing power matters so much in a democracy. And that's a wrap for today's session. But guess what? This excitement doesn't stop here. There is even more to come. Are you ready for our next video? We are going to dive deep into a really interesting story called Khalil's Dilemma through the lens of Vikram and Betal. But wait, there is more. We will also be talking about some cool questions like why do we want to share power? What are the different ways we can share power? So, get ready for the next part of our adventure. We'll be exploring more about how we share power in our democratic societies. Stay excited and curious. Awesome learners, we can't wait to continue this amazing journey with you. See you very soon.